And then the last line item on Vallco, can we expect a timeline where we get the applications from interested residents by the end of March and then have a process mid-April, commencing mid-April? Or any?
Well, we can certainly try. I mean, we're already getting people who are interested. You know, we've probably got it almost 10,
I probably
maybe.
received a handful, and I know we've received calls as well. So we're collecting them, forwarding them over to the city manager's office, and we'll make sure that whatever process is used to select the committee, we can have that in place.
Do we have a timeline?
We need to market. We haven't even started marketing it yet. So
Okay.
We'll do as fast as we can do it.
So does the council need to be part of the process of setting criteria for this, or would that be the facilitator?
Well, the facilitator will review. You can review it. The facilitator will prepare it. I think generally it'll be things like open-mindedness, balance. The idea is to get a real representative committee, and also people that are willing. It's going to be a lot of work. People are willing to stay with it.
And I think geographic, it should be spread out.
Right. I mean, so east-west. Representative ethnicities, representative renter, homeowner, that kind of stuff. Okay. Try to get as balanced as possible.
So he or she will set that up and then invite applications?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I think we'll get applications and then we'll sort of sort it by, by criteria. There'll be an interview process and.
Okay.
Does the council have to approve the funding for this?
Yes.
Committee?
Yes.
Because. I mean, I've heard these rumors that it will cost $1 million for this process. Is that the case?
We'll have to ask the.
Yeah, that's what we think. We also think it'll be at least a year process, and we're anticipating that the committee will want to explore lots of technical issues, probably in a great deal of depth, and that's sort of where the expense is going to come.
So when was this plan to begin? Has the community's expressed an interest in it not starting until we can have an evaluation of the impact of a fully populated Apple II campus?
I mean, it can start whenever council wants it to start. If they want to wait till Apple is completely open, they can do that.
I mean, the thing is, you can't do a traffic study until Apple's completely open. It would be meaningless. So why would we be spending all this money for things that have no applicability by the time Apple is open?
I would like to see the committee start, and the discussion on traffic can always. You cannot discuss everything on the first meeting. You'll have to choose your topics, and the topic about traffic impact can be taken later. By the time Apple campus would probably be operational mid-year or by fall. But there'd be other discussions that the facilitator can help with.
So has a facilitator been selected by anyone?
No.
Okay.
I'd like to have us make the determination of who comprises the committee. It's not something that we discussed previously, but from my perspective, I think it would be better for council to retain the ability to interview and select the committee members. That would be my preference. So. It's not something that I heard discussed at our retreat or today, but I mean, it's sort of sounding like in the subsequent discussions that it's a bit of a foregone conclusion with regard to how the committee is going to be comprised, and I just haven't heard any discussion about it. And I appreciate the fact that maybe the default was just based upon the fact that there was a vacuum in that discussion, but my preference would be to bring it forward to council, at least to have a discussion among the five of us as to how we want to determine the composition of this committee.
I mean, I would like to look who should be on it and also who shouldn't be allowed on it, because we really want this to be a residents committee. We don't want it packed with people that the developer puts forward. And I mean, I think that's a key thing we have to look at when we select the members.
I'm okay with that, but I think if we give some guidance, first of all, I think it would make sense for this to be run something like the Lindbergh Schools thing was run. Meaning, I think it might be better to deliberately not have the council pick the members, but give some direction to the city manager that whoever is picking right, has people who are on both sides of the CD argument, and make sure we have good distribution across the city. It's stuff like that. But actually interviewing individual members, I would leave that to. I think that would be better done by the facilitator. In terms of having developers in the discussion, I would be okay not having the members, but I think just like, you have people who have stakes and have real input, the development community probably shows up to as experts, right, to offer opinions, not just the landholder, but other people from the development community that can fairly value and give some input as to what's right. But in terms of having a voting share, I wouldn't think that necessary. I think having this be resident-based could make a lot of sense. So.
Yes, residence-based, and I would like the council to have criteria, be involved in criteria, but not in the selection. Because again, it'll be seen as we are skewing the process.
Right, yeah, that's fair enough. I'm just worried that all of a sudden we're going to get 50 Chamber of Commerce members trying to be on there.
I think that's why we will have the facilitator.
We need to really we need to have zero. So we need to set those limits.
Yeah, I think that the way we're looking at it is that if we don't set a good committee to begin with, it will fail, right? So the issue is, at the end of the day, we'll know whether it fails because there'll be a groundswell of people saying this doesn't represent a consensus. So on either side, right? So we're going to be pretty careful, and again, getting people that represent both sides of the issue and represent all areas of the community.
As I would comment, I think how this was done for the Lynbrook, how to fix the Lynbrook enrollment question seemed to me to work very well, and did at the end of the day that effort did satisfy the community. So that was an example of I'm not saying you have to do it just that way. The ground rules would have to be different, right? This is the questions we're asking are probably more complicated, but I think. I would note that Citizens Committee did in the end satisfy the community with regard to its composition, its process, how members were chosen, the diversity. It was all done quite carefully. So I thought that was a good model.
Yeah, I still think we should be interviewing. I analogize it over to our commission members who we do take the time to interview and have an application process for. And I think ultimately, if we're representing the residents and we're essentially asking them for advice, that it's just directly analogous to our process for the advisory commissions. So I'm in disagreement with the idea that we should, kind of relegate the decision-making process as to the composition to a facilitator. And so I would ask a reconsideration of that, and for staff to bring back the process that does eventually get set forth to us. It doesn't sound like we've actually empowered any forward motion on this at this point.
No, it's not. It's not been adopted by the council yet. At this point, this is the action that you will be adopting, the goal to do the process this year.
Right. So technically, it's on hold until you can pretty much square away the details in terms of the proposed. The proposed way that we're going to go forward, whether we have a facilitator, how the criteria are going to be chosen for the committee members, as well as, quite importantly, the budget.
Yeah, we haven't started any of that yet.
Right. So
yes, it'll come back to council for all that, but
right.
I don't want to delay this process too much. Like to begin it as soon as possible when the community is showing interest in going forward with it. I've been getting so many questions, who's going to be selected? I'm nominating so-and-so, and I said, no, it's not in my control. I'm not going to promote anyone. I respect what you're saying where you feel that the council needs to be involved, but I would like the process to start with the facilitator and at least the criteria be established with our input, but not be directly involved in the selection.
Right, and then who chooses the facilitator is
that'll be the council.
A more prime question.
That'll be the council.
Okay. Well.
So in regards to the Lynbrook study, it did satisfy the community the residents, but I'm not sure it was the best decision overall for the long term, because it's really putting off the real question of having to change the boundaries for the schools. So they kind of did a process that made the parents happy, but it kind of pushed the real question further out years down the road. So it was a good process. I'm not sure the end result is good, though.
Well, let's hope that we like our end result.